Hello everyone and welcome back. If this is your first time joining us, thank you very much and I hope you enjoy what you see here. Remember, this is an airbrush series, so go back and watch some of the previous videos. There's a lot of things that we cover in those videos that we kind of rush through in the later ones. So if you want to get more information, definitely go back and watch those. So the next technique I want to show you is how to paint on your headlights. Now I like doing this because one, it's another cool technique, and two, it's actually pretty simple once you break down the process. So what I like to do is use these stencils. Now this is a stencil that does circles. You can get stencils for almost anything. So for example, these are stencils for ovals, stencils for hexagons, stencils for squares, stencils for ellipses, and even stencils with some irregular shape lines on the edges. And you can see how beneficial this would be if you wanted to create a bunch of different shapes, but you're not very artistic. Now you'll notice on my mask here, this is actually the masks for the windows, but I'm not using those because I use a liquid mask. So I'll draw on these ellipses, make these little hatch marks in here, and that way I can know where I've cut, just cut them in quadrants. Now once you've peeled up your mask for your headlights, we're going to do a little shading in here, trying to create more of that depth that we keep talking about. So let's do that real quick. Now when I do headlights, I don't like shading down here on the bottom of the headlight because most headlights aren't real dark right there. So I'm just going to focus on the edges and the top. Again, we're going to start in an area that doesn't really matter. Make sure we get paint coming out of our airbrush and just work slowly on this top edge here and the side. And there we are. So the next thing we're going to do is decide where the center of our headlights are going to be. So we're going to start with our smallest circles here to help us figure that out. So I'm going to put my circle about right here. And we're going to try our best to match that on the other side, just so that we have some good continuity between the two lights. So you can take a look at what I've done there. So that is our first circle. Now we're going to layer these circles on top of each other and grow them out. And the plan is to peel up one layer at a time and apply some paint. And that will help us to create that illusion that we have headlights in here. So I'm going to get this all masked up and then we'll come back and actually paint it. All right, so now that we have all those circles layered up, these are kind of nested into each other. I have made the smaller circles kind of closer to the edge and try to make them a bit more elliptical in the way that they're mounting. So in other words, this smaller circle is located here. The next circle is a little bit larger, and then these kind of work their way out so that you'll get this kind of stair step backward kind of a thing. And that gives you that illusion of speed. If you're ever looking for inspiration on how to mask these, just go out and look at your car and you'll get an idea of how those masks kind of lay out, or how you would lay those masks out, I'm sorry. All right, so from here we're going to get our black paint again, and we're just going to shade around the edges of these circles, and then we're going to put a silver behind it. We're trying to create that illusion of depth. So we'll grab our black paint here and work on that. Just like before, always start out here on the edge. Make sure that you're actually getting paint, and then we'll get started. See this bubbling that is happening here in the airbrush? This usually means that you have a clog. Now sometimes you can fight through these clogs, but other times you have to actually clean out your airbrush and make all that work. Since we're doing a large coverage area here, I'm going to focus more on trying to work through it. It's a calculated risk on my end. Now, if you're not real familiar or real comfortable with these airbrushes, I would recommend you not do this and instead actually go clean out your airbrush. But we'll see what happens here. Okay, so now that that silver is laid in, we're going to peel up our largest circles here. We're going to be very careful so that we leave behind the smaller ones. So we're just going to give these a little pull here. Yeah, so I'm pulling this one up, and it's trying to pull up. I don't know if you can see that smaller circle in there. You probably can't, but there's a smaller circle still attached to the mask. So let me go off camera, pull these up, make sure I get all these right here. I'll be right back. Okay, so now that that's done, you can see that I have my circles, my next here circle in there. Now what I'm going to do with this black is I'm going to try to focus just on the very top edge of that circle. So I'm going to try to shade just inside of this edge all the way around here, trying not to get shading inside of that smaller circle over here. So I don't want to put shading. Let me see if I can get better position. So I don't want to put shading in here. I just want to put shading on the very top edge. So let me grab the black here and see if I can take care of that for you real quick. Now, if you notice when I was spraying, I actually sprayed some down here in the bottom because I really should have backed that with a black before I peeled up my circles, but I got excited. So this is just a little thing that you can kind of focus on as far as fixing is, you know, having some skill with the airbrush lets you kind of fill those areas in without too much risk. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to back that with a silver, and then we'll be right back. So now we're just going to repeat the process and work our way down to that very last circle. So let's get started. I almost forgot actually, this last circle here is going to be orange. These two are the ones that we really need to focus on. So proper planning is really important with these things because I almost just screwed up. But that's just something that just be aware of when you're painting with these things. All right, well, unfortunately, those aren't my best headlights. I'm not as proud of those as I am with some others, but hey, you win some and you lose some, but you still get kind of the idea, the process that's involved as far as making your headlights. You can do a lot of different processes here. I've experimented in the past with actually doing circles, so doing rings rather, making those circles more centered and doing alternating black and silver. But you can experiment a lot with those headlights and get some different effects. But again, you kind of get an idea of what that looks like and the process that's involved and how to do that. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do the tail lights. The taillights are actually really simple by comparison of the others. So we're going to peel up our taillight masks here and I'll be right back. All right, now that we've got those all peeled up, you see that those are clear. And if you remember from our previous video, we did a little bit of shading just inside of this silver that's right there, trying to create some depth in this. So we'll do the same thing. So we're going to make sure that we shade on both sides of these wing mounts. We're going to add a shade at the very top, just like what we did with the headlights, but we're not going to do it on the bottom. So we'll do that real quick. Now that we have our shading done, we're just going to paint it red. So it'll be real simple. Then we're going to back it silver and we're done with the taillights. Now take a look at how easy that was. That was just very simple. Taillights are done. Well guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Thank you very much for tuning in and following along with me here. If you benefited from this in any way, please consider giving me a thumbs up as well as a subscription and hit that bell. Because if you're not hitting those bells, you're not getting those notifications in any of your videos. So if you're struggling with that, that's not just a my channel thing, that's in every channel. Go back and hit those bells on your subscriptions. Well, thank you very much again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.